People who have had friends stab you in the back, what is the story? My husband and I, had a friend that we helped get back on his feet. Paid off some tickets he had. Got his license reinstated. Hooked him up with a solid connection for a reasonable, well-running car to replace his beater, and gave him a place to live and a job, automotive repair. He decided it was a better choice to tell all our customers we were overcharging them. Spoiler, we weren't, and he'd do the jobs cheaper if they'd bring it to him at his house. This was a short time after he moved out of our house, after never repaying anything he owed us. Not that we'd asked. Broke my heart. My wife said she needed some time for herself, so she went to stay at her mom's for a while. One day I went to pick up my kids and walked in on her and my best friend having sex. Turns out it had been going on for a while and she knew him before she knew me, which I had no clue about. I had a best friend that I knew for 16 years. She got pregnant and her parents tried to kick her out. Her parents wanted her to get an abortion but she refused. One of our HS friends told me someone should push her down a flight of stairs so she can miscarry. I told her that's a very bad idea and defended my best friend. The next day, the principal came by my class to ask me if I could attend a meeting about something important. If I didn't attend, I was going to be expelled. When I arrived to the meeting, our shared friend claimed I was going to shove my best friend down flights of stairs so she can miscarry. My best friend believed her. We stopped talking after that. Friend told me they weren't doing anything for their birthday. On the day of their birthday, photos appeared on Facebook of them out with the rest of our friends. They're not my friends anymore. Years ago when I did a health sciences undergraduate degree, most of the cohort was determined to get into medical school. Our medical school program mainly accepted students from only our competitive undergraduate course, due to subject prerequisites. We all knew each other and were friendly, hanging out together and forming study groups. Many of my friends were great, we shared tips, resources, practiced exams and interviews together. But there were a handful who really wanted to get into medical school, and since the program ranks applicants mainly based on undergraduate results, the better your friends perform, the lower your ranking is for selection. So near application time, some of us would head off to the university library to borrow out textbooks to find chapters or page numbers that the lecturer mentioned would be on the exam. And they would be ripped out. You'd go and find another library copy of the textbook, and that page would be ripped out too. All of them, totally removed in a hurry. I didn't believe that someone from our cohort did it, until interview practice began. Students began obtaining copies of the questions from previous years and lying when others asked if they had it. I saw someone give a terrible, awful interview answer and the other student would give them glowing feedback and inform them they should say that, word for word, during the interview. It was a shit show and a lot of relationships fell apart, or were never the same again. I booked a table for 6 people to watch a sports event at a bar. I tell them so. All 5 friends say okay, we will be there. No one shows up or even has the decency call or text that they were not coming. Had a good bud of mine, who's the godfather of my son, living with me and my wife. I travel a lot for work, and was out of the country for about 6 months in the Middle East. Came back and found out she was pregnant, with twins, and that they weren't mine. Made plans to go see a movie with my friends for my 16th birthday and planned it weeks in advance. Everybody bailed the day before / but I decided to still go see the movie. Ran into my whole group of friends leaving the movie theater while buying popcorn. My mother told me she was sick of being with Dad. She told me a bunch of things he'd done which made her afraid of him. She asked me to tell a few of her close friends about how she was being treated, because she wanted them to understand why she was leaving. Then she decided to stay with him. So she told her friends that she had no idea what was wrong with me, but they should pray for me because it looked like I was going through something. My own mother stabbed me in the back. He accused me of sexually assaulting his younger sister, who was basically my little sister too, at the time. It's completely false, and it's the most mind-boggling thing that's ever happened to me. My best friend since 4th grade called her my soul sister. I genuinely was so grateful to have what I thought our friendship was. She fell on hard times, got weirdly religious, and stopped working while going to a private uni. I was always there for her, shoulder to cry on, visited her all the time because she didn't have any friends and I knew she was lonely, helped her with groceries and rent, helped her family out. One day she came over, and after buying her groceries, she told me a higher power has been telling her to cut me off for 2 years and she had to listen. Now she wants to be friends again. It's a hard nope from me, dog. Asked 2 of my friends if they wanted to live together in college. Then one of them asked another person in our friend group if he wanted to join in as well. Then they asked another, and another. And then once there were too many people for one apartment, they dropped me out of it. No longer friends with any of them. Was kinda a wake-up call though, because I definitely gave way too much of myself to those people, not knowing that I was the most expendable one. It really taught me not to put others on a pedestal and respect myself more, and has since led to me developing far more healthy relationships that bring me a lot of happiness. Friend only listened to me to tell all of my secrets and spread rumors about me. Fun times. Best friend stopped talking to me after my dad died. Took the whole friend group with him. Apparently I was too emotional. I was 13. Having my entire friend group walk away from me when I was in such a shitty place stuck with me forever. In 7th grade she wrote a 10-page letter on all the reasons I should kill myself, and had all but one of my friends sign in agreement after I confided in her that I felt like something was wrong with me. Early undiagnosed depression, go figure. The day she gave it to me was arguably the worst day of my life at the point, because my parents told my sister and I that they were considering divorce, and my grandmother died. I had one friend who honestly wasn't my favorite person because she was really manipulative, but I never said anything bad about her. I found out that she had been shit-talking me to all of our mutual friends and telling them all that I did horrible things that I never did. Ended up essentially being pushed out of that entire friend group, and it ruined a lot of my high school experience. He thought the kunai I had in my room was fake and threw it to my baklamau. I had one friend. I was bullied by everyone at elementary school. Because my friend would be bullied too when they hung out with me at school, we only played outside of school. One day a popular kid asked to play with me during recess. I was ecstatic. Until after a while they said, "You're not as bad as friend said you are." And that's how I learned why I was bullied. Never lend a friend money, especially if they still haven't paid you back from anything else they owe you. I had some friends who were always talking crap about me, found out from another good friend, and one day I came to school in my brand new jeans that costed around $150, and they put glue on my chair while I was in the bathroom. I sat on it. I asked which one of them did it, none of them said a word. We went to the principal's office and these pos had the balls to say that I put it there to get them in trouble. Their parents were called and I earned around $200 and a new pair of jeans. My friends told me to grieve better after my boyfriend died. For several years, I was best friends with 2 other girls in my elementary school. We always hung out together at school and outside of school. When I was 10, I befriended a nice boy in my class and rumors started circling that he was my boyfriend. He was not. However, they got jealous that I was spending time with him and befriended some kids who liked to tease me. Then, word got around that I had started my period, and apparently this was hilarious and also conclusive proof that I could no longer be friends with them. So one day after school those girls and their new friends ganged up on me and tried to beat me up to signal the end of our friendship. Then, when I was 11 I attended a new school, and I became friends with these girls who were really nice to me. I was the only foreigner in the class and it was a bit difficult for me to adjust, so I was grateful that some students were being welcoming. They invited me to a sleepover to celebrate one girl's birthday, and they sexually assaulted me by groping me and trying to forcibly undress me despite my protests. Obviously, I was massively disturbed, and after that, kept my distance. Then they had the audacity to ask why I was ignoring them. I don't know, because you clearly have no respect for me or my bodily autonomy. When you have multiple instances of friends harming you and betraying your trust during a pivotal point in your childhood, it seriously damages your ability to connect with others or maintain a healthy self-image. A guy who seemed like a good mate when it was just us, and then as soon as there was someone else, or a group, he took the piss out of me and tried to make me the butt of all jokes. Even worse if there were girls around. After a while, I called him out on it, and he was just like, dude, it's just a joke, but I was done with him after that. I saw him randomly earlier this year, after years of no contact, and it was amicable, and we caught up a bit on how we're getting on with our lives, and while he has grown up and become a bit more grounded, there's been no intention of rebuilding a bridge. I think if I ever met someone who has that side to their personality, I'd drop them like a hot potato. Grew up going to the same church and met my friend and her family when I was 14. We grew up together, hung out, and our families would be together all the time. Fast forward many years and I am dating a guy that I fell in love with for almost 3 years at the time. He went to ND to the oil fields for work. I went to visit him and could tell something was off a bit, took the train from my town to Williston, 22 hours to get there. Visited him for 5 days, and on the last day he gets up and goes to shower. I grab his phone. We had an open policy with each other that either could be on each other's phones. I found the emails between my friend and him. My family still hangs out with her family and her. I refused to be around or speak to her. A quiet girl I made friends with would only sit with me in class just so she can go snitch about me to my ex-friends. She would literally sit next to me for 1 or 2 classes randomly, then go sit with them later. I called her out on it after she came to sit next to me and told her, why do you even bother sitting with me, when we both know you're just trying to get shit to talk about me with them. When I come back from the bathroom you better go sit somewhere else. I was usually very quiet, and that was the first time I stood up for myself. I'd if this counts, but it hurt. In HS I had who I thought was my best friend. Almost inseparable. Our favorite band at the time was Good Charlotte and they were on tour. She got tickets and forced a third-party friend who didn't even like them to go with her instead of me. Not saying she owed me, but if it was me, I would take my best friend who likes the band instead of someone who doesn't want to be bothered. It always sat wrong with me.